Welcome to the Courtroom Chronicles. This channel is dedicated to educational content based on real-life cases and true events. This content shared here is drawn directly from the actual case file, and no names, places, or items have been changed. However, the content has been carefully summarized and presented for educational purposes in a comprehension format to inform, enlighten, and spark meaningful discussions. Whether you're here to learn, reflect, or simply understand the real-world scenarios better, you're in the right place. We believe in the power of truthful storytelling to educate and inspire. Disclaimer: while all stories are based on real cases, they are presented in a condensed and structured format for clarity and learning. Viewer discretion is advised where necessary. This case is cited from the Nigerian National Industrial Court online file, which is public record. The story of Mr. Ohabiko Elvis Harcourt versus Nigerian Agip Oil Company Limited. In the quiet halls of the National Industrial Court, Lagos Division, a legal battle unfolded that would test the boundaries of employment law and employer authority. At the heart of it was Mr. Ohabiko Elvis Harcourt, a former employee of Nigerian Agip Oil Company Limited. In March 2012, Elvis received a letter from his employer stating he was being retired under a voluntary retirement option. But there was one major problem. He had never applied for it, nor had he agreed to leave. Elvis believed his employer had forced him out unfairly. He argued that under Regulation 15A of the Petroleum, Drilling and Production Regulations, 1988, and Ministerial Guidelines from 1997, any such retirement required prior approval from the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR. That approval, according to him, never came. So he took the fight to court. In his suit, Elvis claimed that his retirement was involuntary and unlawful. He demanded several reliefs: reversal of the retirement, compensation totaling over $200 million for DPR-imposed penalties, a refund of $6.36 million that had been deducted from his terminal benefits, 5 years' salary as damages for wrongful retirement, and interest and legal costs. He also alleged discrimination, pointing to the preferential treatment of a colleague, Mr. Ayankoya. What the court discovered, presiding over the case, was Hana, Justice Elizabeth A. Oji. She carefully dissected each claim and delivered a well-reasoned judgment. The 1. Involuntary retirement. Justice Oji first examined whether Elvis's retirement could be considered voluntary. The company had cited Clause 50A of its conditions of service, which allowed either party to retire voluntarily. However, the judge referenced a precedent, Owolade v. NARC, which clarified that a unilateral action by the employer, without the employee's consent, could not be considered voluntary. Yes, the court ruled in Elvis's favor on this point. Number 2. Reliance on Regulation 15A and DPR guidelines. Elvis leaned heavily on Regulation 15A and ministerial guidelines. But the court held that these public regulations were never incorporated into private employment contracts and had actually been stepped down in 2016. Therefore, they could not be enforced in this case. No, the court rejected his claims on this ground. 3. Wrongful deductions. A meticulous review of Elvis's terminal benefits revealed $6,362,266.82 had been deducted for loans, advances, and other expenses. But there was a catch. None of these deductions had any contractual backing. The court found them unjustified and ordered the company to pay back the entire amount. Yes, Elvis won this claim as well, including 10% interest per annum after 30 days. 4. Discrimination claims. Elvis alleged he had been treated unfairly compared to his colleague. However, he failed to show that the discrimination was based on any protected ground like gender, race, or religion. No, this claim was dismissed. 5. Damages for wrongful retirement. The company had already paid Elvis 6 months' salary in lieu of notice. The court considered this full compensation under the employment terms and saw no basis to award an additional 5 years of salary. No, this claim also failed. 6. Legal costs. Finally, the court ordered both parties to bear their own legal costs, emphasizing fairness. No award of costs to either side. Who won and why? It was a mixed verdict, but the claimant, Mr. Elvis Harcourt, won the core issues. Yes, the court declared his retirement involuntary and unfair. Yes, he was awarded a refund of $6.36 million, plus 10% annual interest. The defendant, Nigerian Agip Oil Company Limited, succeeded in defending no, the enforceability of Regulation 15A and DPR directives, no discrimination allegations, no Elvis's demand for 5 years of salary and costs. Why Elvis lost some of his claims. 1. The regulations he relied on had no legal footing in his employment contract. 2. He had already received full contractual compensation, 6 months' salary in lieu of notice. 3. His claims of discrimination were unsupported by evidence or legal grounds. Lessons from the case, how it could have been avoided. 1. Clear contractual language. If the employer had clearly defined the process for voluntary and involuntary retirement, confusion and unilateral decisions could have been avoided. 2. Respect for regulatory protocols. If the company had obtained explicit DPR approval or clarified that such approval wasn't legally necessary, the basis for litigation would have been weaker. 3. Proper documentation of deductions. All financial deductions should be contractually agreed upon and documented. In this case, the lack of such provisions cost the company over $6 million. 4. Transparent employee relations. If Elvis had been consulted properly and retirement discussed openly, the claim of coercion may never have arisen. In the end, this case was more than just about money. It was about the principles of fair treatment, contractual integrity, and employer accountability. And thanks to the court's detailed analysis, it now stands as a learning point for employees and employers alike. Thanks so much for watching, fam. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below, and let me know what you think about the case. I love hearing your thoughts and feedback. And hey, if you felt a connection or learned something new, give this video a like and share it with someone who might enjoy it too. Until next time, stay safe, stay real, and I'll catch you in the next one.